What a strange place I find myself in. This portal must have whisked me into another world.
Beware.
Who spoke those words? Do not trifle with Mayévo of the Shadowfell. Yalinisfera. Speak, whose realm is this?
David watches.
Who is this David Watches you speak of? A sorcerer? A warlock? Demon prince?
A YouTuber.
Enough! I must abandon this quest until I discover more about he who watches. Εξαφανίζομαι!
Nepal, stop harassing the NPCs.
Aw, nuts.
Fantasy cults of all sorts can find a place in D&D lore, and while most may be at odds with the player characters, some might lure the party in, at least for a time. Such organizations rarely practice their arts in the open, but instead operate from within the shadows, and today's A Dot on the Map video takes that notion to the extreme. This particular location can be found in the Twilight Forest within the world of Underworld, the setting for my Unfriendly campaign. The Twilight Forest is an overlap between the transient plains of the Feywild and the Shadowfell, but your own setting may have a similar region that the PCs could visit to journey between worlds. This particular site can be found wholly inside the Shadowfell, a short distance from the Twilight Forest of Underworld. So without any further introduction, prepare to enter the Circle of Shadows. Deep within the Shadowfell is an unassuming grove surrounded by a tangle of charcoal gray trees. Inside this grove is a circle of ancient standing stones, each one a silent guardian over the shallow pool that lies between them. Shadow magic is strong here, a focal point for the darkness of the entire region, and it was here that a young sorceress, succumbing to the despair of this bleak realm, found new purpose as she was reborn in the image of the Shadowfell. This is the Circle of Shadows. The Circle of Shadows is a gathering place within the Shadowfell, yet the name has also become synonymous with the cult who frequents this location, a faction within the plane. It had gone largely unnoticed within the plane until it was discovered by a woman on the verge of becoming a shade, a mortal corrupted by the Shadowfell. Now a part of the Dark Realm, she began to gather others from distant worlds to honor and revere the place that had given her new life, and so the Circle of Shadows was born. The head of the Circle of Shadows is Mayévo, a female shade who has given herself over fully to the Shadowfell. As far as she is concerned, she has always been a shade. There was never a time before she was part of the Shadowfell, for it is what makes her whole. The Dark Sorceress has dedicated her entire being to the demiplane of Shadow. Mayévo believes that the Feywild is a cancerous growth on the multiverse and must be eliminated. To that end, she seeks to draw energy from the Feywild and corrupt it in order to bolster the influence of the Shadowfell. Where the two transient planes overlap, Mayévo bargains with adventurers to gather Fey essence, exchanging potions and other treasures for this magical currency. With every bit of essence she transfers from the Feywild to the Shadowfell, she moves one step closer to becoming one with the darkness she so readily embraces. This continued theft has drawn the ire of certain Fey, namely a spry leprechaun by the name of Reginald. He has responded in kind to Mayévo by making a similar offer to travelers, sparking a rivalry between the two. Now it is a race to see who can enlist the aid of explorers to these two transient planes in order to draw influence from the other. Among Mayévo's followers is Andros Arcoda, a shadow mage of some renown. Andros was one of the first to join the circle and has maintained a place of prominence ever since. The wizard's ambition and thirst for knowledge have given him an advantage over his more docile and subservient peers. Andros' ultimate goal is to lead the Circle of Shadows and spread the cult's influence across the plains, far beyond the Shadowfell. But gaining such a position is impossible so long as Mayévo still lives. These ambitions are of little concern to the Shade herself, as she believes her death will solidify her bond with the Shadowfell. And so Mayévo encourages Andros' endeavors, even to her own demise. When the Circle of Shadows faces a dilemma that requires a more heavy-handed approach than their spellcasters can muster, they send the Butcher of Souls. No one in the Circle is entirely certain what the Butcher is. Some believe the beast is a lycanthrope warped by the influence of the Shadowfell into a barbarous monster. Others theorize that the Butcher was once a mortal who bargained for power and was cursed with this bestial form. But regardless of these musings, everyone in the Circle knows that the Butcher of Souls is both powerful and keenly intelligent. The Butcher reports directly to Mayévo, who assigns the creature tasks unsuited to other members of the Circle. While it cannot speak, the monstrous being carries out these orders perfectly and without fail. In battle, the Butcher is a force of nature, tearing down opponents in a display of ferocity that strikes terror in those rare few who survive its onslaught. Within the Circle of Shadows grove is a wealth of knowledge. The standing stones that surround the Dark Pool are engraved with history, incantations, and other lore collected by the cultists. The pool itself can be used by the initiated to scry on distant people and places. PCs can utilize this service for a fee, or more often, a favor. Nearly all members of the Circle follow this pattern. Services are exchanged rather than bought. This is initially handled through Mayévo, who consents visitors to the Shadowfell. But once your PCs have been invited to this quiet grove, they can discover numerous opportunities for adventure, with promises of rare secrets as their reward. If you allow PCs to gain additional skills through training, they may wish to seek out Andros Arcota. The high-ranking Shadow Mage can instruct the characters in Arcana, granting them proficiency in the skill after a week of training and performing a task of his choice. A much rarer opportunity comes from the Butcher of Souls. Should a character achieve sufficient standing with the faction, Mayévo makes them an offer. Spend a week with the Butcher on one of its hunts and gain the beast's ability to blend with the shadows. Accepting the offer will grant double proficiency in the stealth skill, yet it may also leave the individual lying awake at night to avoid reliving the nightmarish events that earned them such a boon. Remaining in the Shadowfell for extended periods can corrupt a mortal's soul, eventually turning them into a shade like Mayévo. But an enchantment that encompasses the Circle of Shadows protects against this effect. Allies of the Circle can take rest here without fear of falling into darkness, and can also gain a long rest bonus in the process. For the next 24 hours, they receive advantage on all stealth checks. The shadow stuff that permeates this plane temporarily infuses those who rest within the Circle, causing them to blend more easily into their surroundings for a time, even outside of the Shadowfell. Once the PCs have had some dealings with Mayévo and her cultists, the group may offer the party magic items and other treasures in exchange for their aid in handling some delicate situations. Bad Penny. Seeking to gain some advantage over Reginald the Leprechaun, her rival in the Feywild, Mayévo hires the party to place a cursed coin in the Fey's treasure hoard. Fragments. For years, Andros Arcota has been searching for a lost spell said to hold the secrets of the Shadowfell. The incantation was torn apart and scattered throughout the plains, but now Andros has located the last fragment. However, he needs someone else to obtain it so as not to draw the attention of Mayévo, who knows nothing of the Shadow Mage's lifelong quest. Andros is willing to share his research with the one who recovers the final piece of the spell. Frenzy. Mayévo seeks out the party for a deadly task. The Butcher has failed to return from his latest mission, and the Shade believes that the creature was captured. Unsure of the havoc the Butcher could cause while under someone else's control, she asks the PCs to recover her pet. In truth, the spellcasters the Butcher of Souls was sent to kill frantically cast a madness-inducing spell on the beast, driving it into a frenzy. It slaughtered the mages and proceeded to go on a murderous rampage in the surrounding lands. That does it for this episode. If anyone in your party has questionable morals and is willing to make a deal with dark cultists, perhaps it's time they visit the Circle of Shadows. Until then, I'm David Watches.
And I'm Nepal Mandia.
And thanks for watching. Special thanks to my longtime friend Bill Batchelor for creating the logo for this channel, and to Dylan Smith for the character art used in this and other videos. I couldn't have done it without them. I'd also like to thank Myrto for voicing Mayévo of the Shadowfell in this episode. You can find a link to Myrto's D&D and art channel in the description below.
For more D&D tips, check out these hot videos.